here we are.
Yes.
We missed last week.
We did.
Sickness coming over. It's that time of year.
Oh my gosh.
With kids.
Yeah. Croup.
Oh,
Then sinus infections for 3 of us. And then pink eye. Don't recommend.
fun.
Yeah. And then my husband got sick on
You said
Friday.
he just got, okay.
Yep.
But you got to get away from everyone.
I got to get away from everyone. I went to Montana to visit my grandparents. I'm from Montana, which
Yep.
we talked about.
Yep.
So it was good to see them. They're doing okay. My grandpa has leukemia,
Ooh.
so grandma is really frail. And anyway, I wanted to go spend some time with them because
Yeah.
you just don't know how long you have with them.
100%.
It's really fun though. My grandpa and I on Saturday, we played Mexican Train for about
Okay.
2.5 hours.
Yep.
So
Love it.
that was really fun. And then this is kind of funny, but like I really wanted to teach him Monopoly Deal. Have you played that card game?
Like once, but yes.
Oh my gosh, I love that
It's like
game.
quicker.
It's like
and-
20 minutes and
Yeah.
you're done.
Yep.
So I kind of like start teaching him, and then we're about 5 minutes in and he goes, "Reese, this ain't it." That's my nickname, Reese.
Love it.
Yeah. So, and then he took a nap. So
Perfect.
Anyway, so
We'll dive into a bit more, but why don't we start with the wine of the week?
the wine of the week. So I picked from Barrage Cellars, which is I'm a member at. Love them. Bonnie and Kevin are the owners.
Okay.
And they have a grandson that lives with them.
Okay.
So they actually I believe they just released another like a luxury wine named after their grandson.
Okay.
I think his name is Decker. So anyway, I haven't tried it yet, but I love their wine. So this is a 2019 double barrel Red Mountain Cabernet Sauvignon.
Where is their tasting room?
Their tasting room is in in Industrial District?
Warehouse District?
The Warehouse District.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So Warehouse District. They have a huge tasting room. So definitely go check them out. They're only open on the weekends.
Okay.
So
I feel like most of the Warehouse District.
Some of them are open
I guess
during the week.
Some of them are.
Yeah, but they do like they do really, really fun like release parties with like barbecue.
Awesome.
And
wasn't this the first winery you're a member of? Is that accurate?
Maybe.
Okay.
I can't remember. I don't know.
Who knows?
So let's
Beautiful.
have a glass.
Yeah.
I'll pour you first. You want like a half glass?
That's perfect.
Yeah, let's do a little half glass.
Ooh, good smell.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good one. Okay.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thoughts?
That's really good.
I know.
It has some like tannins, some dryness, and then sweetness, and then it like goes back to dry.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like is that what you would call a full-bodied wine?
No.
Okay.
No.
I don't know. I don't know this stuff.
This isn't. It's a big body, but it's not a.
Yeah. That's really good.
Yeah, it's good though.
Super good. So, anyway, that was my weekend. What did you do?
Friday was my brother's birthday.
Ooh, happy birthday, brother!
We went out to my parents' house. They live out on the lake in Snohomish.
That's right.
So we actually went out there on Friday night, stayed the night there.
Cool.
Helped my dad, both my parents, with some stuff.
Yep.
Or I should say my husband helped him with a bunch of outside stuff. And then hung out there all day. Saturday, made some tamales for his birthday. And then went back home and hosted a Super Bowl party. I
heard you had like 25 people at your house.
Yep, between adults
Sunday.
And kids. So it was fun.
Yeah, that's good.
We've really set up our house to be able to host, and we have huge TV and then a bar with another, like, so it's just like kids can go wild. So everyone's like, you guys have the perfect house. So
I'm jealous of your basement. I really am. It's pretty awesome. So we did not watch the Super Bowl. My husband couldn't figure out what channel it was on.
Oh.
And then it was like, whatever. At this point, let's just let it go.
I feel like when you're hosting a party or even at a party, I didn't watch the game.
Oh yeah,
because you're talking to people, and there's only so much like couch room, and unless I'm like sitting on a couch like right in front watching the
Right.
TV, I'm like,
Yeah. Who are you rooting for?
probably the Chiefs, just because I don't like the 49ers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
T-Swift's boyfriend. Not a huge Swift, not a Swiftie, but not a.
I'm the same.
Yeah.
I'm the same.
I
My
like her. I
daughter-
respect her.
Oh, absolutely. She's a
But-
boss babe.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, my daughter is obsessed with her.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I support it. I think she's
Usher was amazing.
I saw a little bit of the snippets and I was like, that was pretty cool. The roller skating part, like, what in the world? Also, her,
Yeah.
the guitar solo, like, I was surprised that she didn't sing. She's an incredible singer. So
I don't really know her that.
Yeah, so I didn't know her either. So we went to the Coldplay concert last
Okay.
fall, and she was the opener for Coldplay. Oh my word. I was blown away. She's an incredible guitarist,
Huh.
incredible singer. Her music is like very, very complex. If
Okay.
that makes sense. Like, I'm
Yeah.
a musical person, and
Okay.
it's like you listen to it and you're like, holy cow, there's a lot going on there.
Huh.
That's really cool. But
Yeah.
like, I was like, go her.
Yes.
Yeah.
I definitely feel old. The fact that the halftime
Uh-huh.
shows are now completely targeted to us.
They are targeted to us millennials.
Yep. But
Yeah.
yeah.
I kind of love it.
Yeah, it makes it that much more fun.
Yeah.
All of our kids were dancing around. It
Uh-huh.
was chaos, but
Nice.
it was great.
Awesome.
So diving into everything, this week we are talking about kind of the negotiating, offer
Mhm.
submitting. So very heavy into your world. I feel like everything we do is very tied together, but a lot of the times it's this person and then it gets passed off and then it kind of is this back and forth. And so this one's really going to be targeted towards that type of stuff. So,
Totally.
to kind of recap, last week we went over pre-approval process.
Mhm.
We talked about getting, as you guys are shopping, getting updated numbers to get updated of rates and specific taxes and all of that type of stuff. And
Kind of like teeing up for getting ready to submit
teeing
an
up.
offer.
So
yeah.
you guys go visit a bunch of homes. They
Mhm.
find one that they're like, I want to make an offer on that one.
Yep.
Where does
What
it go?
happens?
What
Yeah.
happens from
Yeah.
there?
So this is step 3 of my 4-step buyer process. So basically what we're going to do is, we talked about getting the seller documents. We talked about me doing a CMA. What we're going to do is we're going to sit down either in person or I do like to use Zoom. Ever since COVID, it's just like Zoom is clutch.
Well, it's easier too, especially
my
like being a
goodness.
mom. I have a
Yeah.
7:30 pre-approval meeting tonight that it's just like it's easier for them, it's easier for me.
Absolutely.
I can I can't meet in person unless it's a off case. Like,
I mean,
it's
like
just
I can do either, but I definitely prefer Zoom now. So it's just really nice, and then I can share my screen and just go over things so much easier. So that way we're not like in each other's spaces. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's been really nice. So anyway, we'll usually spend about 90 minutes to about 2 hours going over. So reviewing any questions that you might have about the seller documents, about the CMA. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go through the purchase and sale agreement. So a couple of different paths that you could go. One is if it's not competitive, of course, I want to put in every single contingency in your offer, right? If it's competitive, then I do have a Google form that I have buyers fill out, and it's 16 different ways you can make your offer more competitive.
Okay.
It doesn't have to do with price necessarily, but there's definitely different ways that you can make your offer stronger. So goes through that. So there's, 2 different paths. I don't want to get too far in the weeds on the competitive offer scenario, but I do have a plan for that.
Yep.
But let's just say this is a generic offer where we're including all the contingencies. I can do Cliff Notes style where I'm like summarizing each paragraph of the purchase and sale agreement. Or if you want, I can read through it and kind of explain to you in layman's terms what that means. But it's just really important to me that you understand what you're signing before you click.
Yep.
That way we can dialogue about the pros and cons of that.
Yeah, exactly.
So, because I want you to feel super confident when you're signing that offer and submitting it, that you understand what you signed and submit something that you feel confident in. So,
yeah, because if you're waiving contingencies, the contingencies are a part of the purchase and sale agreement for your protection.
Correct. They protect your earnest money specifically.
So if you're waiving them, it's not always a bad idea.
No.
But if you're waiving them, you need to know why.
Yeah,
you need to know the risk.
And you need to know the risk. You need to know that there is a time frame that could potentially, well, I mean, if you're writing an offer with contingencies, there are time frames that kick off.
Regardless if they're waived
Correct.
or not.
If they're waived, you're basically doing your due diligence before offering on a property.
Yep.
So think of like a competitive offer as you're doing due diligence before you offer. A non-competitive offer, you get to secure the property and then you get to do your due diligence after the seller accepts your offer. So obviously that's more advantageous for everyone.
Yep.
So anyway, we'll go through that. We'll get your offer finalized. I'll submit it to the listing agent. If they come back and they counter on something, typically you have 2 business days to counter back or accept the seller's terms, that sort of thing. Typically, it's like we figure out what's going to happen like within a day.
Yeah.
But that's typically how that works. It just depends on the time frame. But we go through the counter offer scenario, and I mean, a lot of times the seller will accept your offer, but sometimes if a seller is like, I need a specific close date, or, hey, I need this specific price because I am contingent on selling my property to buy this other property, then we talk through that. And you don't have to accept their offer, their counter offer.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times the power is in the buyer's court in
Especially
a non-competitive scenario. Yeah. So submit that. Let's say that we agree on terms. So seller agrees on the terms, buyer agrees on the terms. It has to be in writing for it to be official. There's no such thing as a verbal offer. That's a handshake agreement is not an agreement in real estate.
There can be verbal offers, but in order for it to be official,
it has to be in writing. Everything has to be in writing in real estate. So what happens is
because you're signing, it is a legal contract.
Oh yeah.
Document. And I think that's what some, they think they're just selling whatever, that it's like, oh, no. It has to all be laid out. And
everything's in writing. This is one of the biggest purchases of your life. So let's make it official. Yeah. Exactly. So once the seller and buyer agree on terms, that is what's called mutual acceptance. So mutual acceptance, you and the seller agree on the terms. That basically timestamps when your contingencies kick off. So mutual acceptance is day 0.
Yep.
Now, funny thing in real estate terms, anything that is a contingency 5 days or less is in business days. Anything over 5 days is in calendar days.
Okay.
So important distinction there. Yep. Now, that's my job as an agent to keep track of that. But based on when your mutual acceptance is, I'm going to loop in my transaction concierge. She's going to get a timeline going just to let you know, hey, this is when this is due by. And then, of course, I keep track of making sure your earnest money is deposited, usually within 2 to 3 business days of mutual acceptance. And then we just go through each of the contingencies.
And at that point, that's when you also send the contract.
Send the contract
to the lender.
Yep.
And we kick off. We'll go through that pretty much that whole process next episode. But that's when we kick off that, which coordinates with the contingencies as well.
Exactly. So I'm going to cover just like 2 of the major contingencies, I think. And then I want you next week to kind of go over the finance contingencies piece of it. But the main contingency, if it's a non-competitive situation, is the inspection contingency. It can last typically up to 10 days. So that would be calendar days. Now, if I put in 5 days for an inspection contingency, that's business days. Okay. So if I wrote in 5 days on your inspection form or your inspection addendum, that is going to be 5 business days. So let's say that we got in contract today, which is when this is released, Thursday. We would have until next Thursday to do our inspection and submit your final, or not your final inspection response, but your inspection response.
So you need to be, because if you did 7 days, it would still be next Thursday, right?
Correct. But if it was 4 days, it would be next Wednesday.
Yes.
If it was 8 days, it would be next Friday.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
I actually don't know if I knew that.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Yeah.
I usually, with all of those days, I read through them and we get things going right away, so we don't push up against them.
Yeah.
but I usually rely, because you guys know the ins and outs of the contract.
Right.
I rely on whoever's the agent. Hey, what's the date on this? So I don't think I actually knew that.
Yeah, I would be really curious to find out why the attorneys decided that business days versus calendar days. I'm real curious about that.
We have certain like waiting period contingencies that some are
okay,
and it has to, a lot of ours has to do with like mailing days.
Okay.
And when documents like the loan estimate, stuff like that, and initial disclosures.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really confusing because it's like some are business days.
Sure.
Some include Saturdays.
Uh-huh.
Some are just days.
Right.
Some include some holidays. And it's like,
yeah, it's overwhelming. But like, don't worry about that.
Yes.
As a buyer, we got you.
That's like, what we're here for.
This is our job to know those time frames, because if I mess up on that, you could potentially lose your earnest money.
Yes.
I've yet to lose someone's earnest money in my
same
almost
here.
10 years. So that's great.
Yep.
So that's our job. So don't worry about that too much. We got you. We're going to let you know when things are due by.
Yes,
so just rely on us for that. Yeah. So let's say that we have a 5-day inspection, right? So, and today's Thursday, so we need to get your inspection done. You want to hire a third-party inspector to come out, tell you what's wrong with the house, give you a full report. I mean, it's a 35, 40-page document that tells you everything that's wrong with the property. With that information, there's basically one of 3 ways that we can go about your inspection response. One is, or actually there's 4 ways. One is accept, move forward to closing. 2 is ask for additional inspections. So there's actually a little paragraph after the inspection that says that you are allowed to do additional inspections. So for example, if the inspector said, hey, you need to have a roofer come out and evaluate this, we could use that X amount of days in the additional inspections to have a roofer come out and evaluate it for you.
Can you extend, like if you get the inspection, your expense, and you get it back on Wednesday?
Sure.
There was a roof needed, can you extend the inspection contingency timeline?
No.
Okay,
no.
So you got to get it done in a day.
You got to get it done. So in that case, if I got the report back Wednesday, I would be reaching out to roofers immediately trying to get someone out. So what I would do is I would actually wait till Thursday and submit your inspection response and tick the box that says additional inspections requested. That adds X amount of days, typically 3 business days.
Okay. So
it extends your ability to submit your formal response. Okay. So if, for example, the additional inspection was 3 days and I submitted your request for additional inspections Thursday, we would have until Tuesday at 9 p.m. Everything expires at 9 p.m. in the real estate world to submit that. Okay. So that's second piece that you could go with.
Okay.
Third is you can request purchase price reduction, credits, you can request repairs, and that sort of thing to try and negotiate things that came up on the inspection. Now, really important thing is I cannot submit the inspection report to the listing agent or to the seller. If we do that, we actually waive your inspection contingency and you are agreeing to move forward.
Oh.
So that was kind of a new rule that happened in the last 2 to 3 years. Okay. And I used to literally just submit the inspection response with the report and be like, hey, here's everything that's wrong with your house. We're asking for...
Why? Do you know why?
I think it's because it puts the seller in a corner of like, hey, now they have all this material proof of what's wrong with your home. And now they're kind of cornered to like have to fix things or give the buyer credits or this sort of thing. And then if the buyer walks away, it's almost kind of like blackmail almost, if you think about it.
Okay.
Then if the buyer walks away because the seller refused to do what the buyer demanded, then the seller now has to disclose all of that information to the next buyer.
Okay.
So they're trying to keep the playing field, I think, fair for both sides. Now, we can certainly request like, hey, if the roof needs to get replaced, I can write in the contract seller to either credit us X amount of dollars for the attached invoice for a new roof or, seller to replace the roof prior to closing, like that sort of thing. We can certainly do that.
Yeah.
The seller then can counter if they want to. So they have typically 3 business days to counter back on a request for repairs, credits, purchase price reduction. And then the buyer basically has one of 3 options. They can accept that, they can reject it, keep their earnest money, walk away, or they can try and go back and forth. I really don't like to get to that point because then if we can't come to an agreement, the buyer is actually choosing to go forward, even if we can't come to agreement with the seller. So I really try really hard to get that.
Can you explain that a little bit more?
So basically we have kind of one shot to get the seller to do something for the buyer.
So say I'm the buyer, you're the seller.
Yeah.
I get an inspection response back. I say, I'm just going to use simple.
Yeah.
Roof's bad. I want $10,000 credit.
Sure.
I give that to you.
Mm-hmm.
You say, no, I only want to give you 5.
Sure.
I want to say, no, I really want the 10, or I want to get close to it, so I want the 8. So I give that back to you. You don't accept that. You don't like that. I then have to move forward. Is that what you're saying?
So let's back up. So there's 3 sections on the inspection response form. 1 is the buyer's initial request. 2 is the seller's response. 3 is the buyer's response. That's it.
Okay.
So you're requesting $10K from me in that top section.
Yep.
Second, I'm countering to you and saying, no, I'll only offer you 5. Bottom portion of that is your response. Do you accept that? Do you reject that? Walk away.
Okay.
Or do you try to get more from me? You can, but it says there, if we can't come to an agreement, you are choosing to move forward.
Okay.
What I try to do as an agent is I try to verbally get on the same page.
I think most do.
Before that seller response comes back.
Yeah.
Because if I need to amend something or something like that, I want to do that before we get to that point.
And most agents
inspection.
Most listings agents and whatever will have a conversation with you on the phone.
Absolutely.
It's not full writing.
It's not everything is in writing, right?
Yes.
But especially for that inspection, I really, really, really want to try and get everything on my buyer's request form completed. Now, there definitely have been, I would say, probably a half a dozen times in my career that we just couldn't come to an agreement. And it honestly was in my buyer's best interest to walk away. Mm-hmm. And they had that option and they got their earnest money back. Now, I'd say that's few and far between, but that's typically how that inspection goes.
Okay.
Or that inspection contingency goes. So that's the big one. There's also, I'll just touch briefly on like 2 other ones. Form 17 is the seller disclosure statement. We kind of touched on that, I think, on the second episode, but it's basically a 6-page document that the seller is required to give to the buyer per Washington state law of everything that they know about the property during their ownership.
Okay.
That is typically a 3 business day review period for the buyer. You are certainly using your inspection to verify quite a lot of their answers. You're also using the title report to also verify their answers. So if there's easements, if there's liens, if there's things on there like encroachments or something like that. So the title contingency is also something that we would kind of talk about too. That's not a walk away contingency unless there's a cloud on title. And I don't want to get too far in the weeds on that, but we definitely have a title officer review the report with you, make sure that everything looks good on there.
Yeah.
So,
well, if there's anything major on title, we can't close the loan.
Correct.
So it's like
there literally is in the purchase and sale agreement it's called condition of title. And if the seller cannot convey clean title to the buyer, the sale does not go through.
Yep.
And the buyer receives their earnest money back. Yep. So that's kind of good peace of mind. Yeah. Yep. So that's basically, so once we're past those inspection contingencies, the other contingencies, what we do is a week prior to closing, we do what's called a final walkthrough. So we go back to the home and make sure it's in the same condition as when the buyer initially viewed it. So check that the dishwasher is working. There's no holes in the walls that need to get patched. Make sure the seller is actually moving out. So we definitely want to make sure that like things are in working order, because the contract does say that if something breaks, the seller does need to fix it with like or better quality before closing. So definitely work on that together. It's fun too for the buyer to go out and measure and
get ready for all
get ready for moving in and that sort of thing. So that is basically kind of in escrow, from mutual acceptance to escrow to closing, kind of my side of things on step 3.
Yep.
Now, next week we will talk about step 4, which is closing.
Yep.
And a lot of that is you.
And a lot of that overlaps during all of this whole time period. But that's where my hands are back on it and all of that type of stuff to really go through the whole financing process.
We need final approval, and often that is within about a week before closing.
Yeah.
That gets finalized. Yep. So we will talk about that next week.
Yeah, perfect.
Anything else you think we need to touch on for that in offer or in escrow?
No, period? I don't think so. I think the contingencies are the biggest thing on your side of it, and that's what you navigate during. I feel like in escrow that my hands are on it the most because they need to figure out how to pay for the house, and that's where the loan comes in. And so you're just kind of managing those timelines, and then everything else is really in the lender's court and making sure that loan gets done on time to get the money there on time.
Yeah. So, cool. Well, I think that's it for this round.
Yeah.
So
awesome. Cheers.
Cheers.